Thanks, Rob and Bartlett. My topic is the taxes on digital goods and digital services. So it's not as controversial as I think what Brian and Joe have talked about, but I think it's every bit as confusing. So what's the deal with digital goods and taxes? To tell you a true story, I'm a resident of Virginia. The other day I bought a $24 audiobook from audible.com while sitting in my office here in the district. I downloaded the first part, it's a two-part, downloaded the first part on my iPad at O'Hare Airport between flights, downloaded the second part when I landed in Los Angeles on my iPhone. And both downloads came from servers in Texas, and they were both provided to me through Verizon's LTE service. Question, who gets to tax, sales tax on my purchase? Is it DC, Illinois, California, Texas, or Virginia? Hold your answer. Because what we've got here is a perfect storm, again, on digital goods taxes. First, we have innovation in mobile devices and cloud services coming from providers. We have consumer preferences for mobility and consumer preference to have all their stuff just sort of stored in the cloud. And then finally, states are really getting aggressive and creative at trying to tax digital activity. A couple of examples. Tax administrators love to say that there are digital equivalents to tangible personal property. And we already tax the tangible personal property, we ought to tax the digital equivalents. So if we tax doorbells, I guess we ought to be taxing the ringtones you download for your phone, right? Same thing. iTunes and iMovies and ebooks, are they the equivalent of their books? Well, not really. I can't give away my ebook. I can't lend you my iTunes, and I can't sell my Audible book that I pulled down. None of those things are transferable under the license agreements. They're completely different than the physical counterparts I could buy in a bookstore or music store. Now, some states say that you're delivering an e-document as part of an online service. That creates a taxable event. So if I get a document from a guy who's helping me draft a will, I guess that becomes tangible personal property and would make that service taxable. I said a will. I guess for this crowd, I should say getting someone to edit a resume creates a taxable event. So together, all these forces are driving the need for Congress to act. And in the 112th Congress, we had the Digital Goods and Services Tax Fairness Act of 2011. It was in the Senate by Senators Wyden and Thune, and there was a hearing last April on Senate Finance. And in the House, it was H.R. 1860, Representatives Smith, Cohen, Coble, and Hastings. And there was a judiciary hearing in the House in May of 2011. Rob Atkinson was one of the witnesses there. So this same bill is coming soon to the 113th Congress, too, with some adjustments. There's key elements in this congressional legislation that are still the same. It's not about determining when a business has to collect, which was Brian and Joe's topic. It's based on authority that's exclusively given to Congress in the Constitution, Article 1 of the Congress Clause. And 3, the bill says, quote, no state or local jurisdiction shall impose multiple or discriminatory taxes on or with respect to the sale or use of digital goods and digital services. Different than what Annabelle talked about, which is your monthly bill for your online internet access. That's what that moratorium is about. This is about the buying of digital goods and services. Now the rest of the bill is details, and I know that's what you guys are into, but I'll give you a couple of the highlights. It clarifies sourcing. It says in this bill that one state gets the right to tax. Which state is it? The state where the purchaser lives, where their billing address. So in the example I gave, it was my state of Virginia. And it turns out that Virginia, Delegate Brink is here from Virginia legislature, Virginia doesn't actually tax ebooks, so there's a happy ending for me there. Number 2, the bill clarifies that only the state legislature can impose a new tax on digital downloads or services, so that tax administrators alone can't sort of dream up a digital equivalent in order to create some new tax that wasn't enacted by the legislature. 3, it prevents states from imposing discriminatory taxes on digital goods, so they can't tax an iTunes at a higher rate than the CD you buy from the store. Now, this also stops states from trying to jam state and local telecom taxes on top of the things that are delivered digitally, and John's going to cover some of that later on. And lastly, it prevents multiple taxes by requiring a state to give you credit for a tax you pay to another jurisdiction. So if a state were to follow the rules in Congress's bill, they still question that before the states, should they enact taxes on digital goods, even if they follow all these rules? Well, states that move fast and first are creating a first mover disadvantage because they would end up hurting only the businesses in their state, because failing the overturning of the Quill decision, only businesses in their state has to collect. Rob Atkinson made some great arguments last year about the national interest of not taxing digital goods, considering that 2% of our economy is the internet. And then the greenest way, I have to say, the greenest way to get your music, movies, books, and games and softwares to digital download. It's got far less carbon footprint and natural resource consumption than driving to the store and throwing away all that plastic and packaging. So one other thing to think about is that why penalize those customers who are paying for their music as opposed to those who are stealing it? So Bartlett had asked about arguments against, and there aren't too many arguments against, other than the fact that administrators and state tax departments would prefer the discretion to create new taxes out of whole cloth without the sort of restrictions and strictures that are in this bill. So the coalition behind this is called Download Fairness, but fairness has become sort of a meaningless term in this town. Still, it's a little easier on the tongue than what I wanted to call it, which was stopdumbdigitaltaxes.org. Thank you.
So Steve, I think maybe the answer is you should impose a, if you pass a digital services, goods and services tax, we should then impose a tax on all pirated downloads.
Only those, sir.
Only
Good luck collecting that.
Maggie.